I often read the book of Obadiah or Obadiah, chapter number 1, verse 17, or the words, "But on Mount Sion there shall be an escape." Another translation says that it will become a place of refuge. "And they shall be set apart, and the house of Yaakov shall possess their possessions." Isaiah chapter number 4, verse number 2 and following. "In that day the branch of Yahweh shall be splendid and esteemed, and the fruit of the earth shall be excellent and comely for the escaped ones of Israel. And it shall be he who is left in Sion and he who remains in Jerusalem or Jerusalem is called set apart. Everyone who is written among the living in Jerusalem. When Yahweh has washed away the filth of the daughters of Sion and rinsed away the blood of Jerusalem from her midst by the spirit of judgment and the spirit of burning." It says then that Yah will create above every dwelling place of Mount Zion and above her gatherings a cloud and a smoke by day, and the shining of a flaming fire by night, for over all the esteem shall be a covering, and a booth for shade in the daytime from the heat, for a place of refuge, and for a shelter from storm and rain. Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah. Day number 5, the final day of Torah portion Shoftim. Now, I went into those lengthy readings to begin because the idea of refuge, a place of hiding, but a place of development, a place of being trained and refined while in exile, is the subject of Deuteronomy chapter number 19. Verse number 1 and following says, "When Yahweh your Elohim cuts off the nations whose land Yahweh your Elohim has given you, and you dispossess them, and dwell in their cities and in their houses, separate 3 cities for yourself in the midst of your land, which Yahweh your Elohim is giving you to possess." Verse 3 is important. "Prepare a way for yourself and divide into 3 parts the border of your land, which Yahweh your Elohim has given you to inherit, that a manslayer shall flee there." Now, what is this manslayer? And what is this talking about? There is a concept within the Torah that is extremely important pertaining to the manslayer and the avenger of blood. What a great movie plot that has never, to my knowledge, been utilized. But if I am in a field, if I am out laboring somewhere alongside another fellow, and by some means in the course of our activity of the day, an accident occurs, the axe head flies off my axe handle and hits the man, cuts his femoral artery, and he bleeds to death. We're cutting a tree down with a chainsaw, and the tree happens to hit him and kill him. Any number of ways that an accident could occur, and my coworker, my fellow, is injured unto death. The text says that an avenger of the blood, one from the family of the one who has died, may pursue me and take my life in exchange for the life that I accidentally took. Now, if I plotted and schemed to make the accident happen, that it's actually murder that is made to look like an accident, there's no place for me to hide. I will be found out. But there are to be cities of refuge. Ultimately, there were 6, 3 on the main area of Israel's inheritance, and then among the tribes of Gad, Reuben, and half of the tribe of Manasseh, there were 3 more. The way to the city of refuge, the paths and the roads that lead to that, had to be maintained. Debris had to be moved out. The way had to be prepared. So if a tree fell across the path, someone had to be responsible to get that out of the way, that the one who was fleeing from the avenger of the blood can have a clear path to a city of refuge. Once he's inside, then the priests of that city who sit in the gate need to listen to his case. He has to convince them of his innocence. And as long as he stays inside the city of refuge, then he is protected. If he is solved to be guilty, he's handed over. If his innocence is properly proven, then he is given what we would probably call sanctuary, a hiding place. Now, it's important that we connect this to Matthew chapter number 7. And I encourage you, with this Avenger of the Blood, City of Refuge concept in mind, go back and read Matthew 7 in its entirety, and you will gain some interesting ideas about what the verses may be saying. But in verse number 13, enter in through the narrow gate, because the gate is wide and the way is broad that leads to destruction, and there are many who enter in through it. But the gate is narrow and the way is hard pressed, which leads to life, and there are few who find it. Now, what's interesting here is that in verse 15, the subject seems to change without a connection. But beware of the false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are savage wolves. Mike Clayton, my dear friend, has noted to me that sheep don't wear clothing. Shepherds do. What shepherds' clothing are they wearing? They're wearing clothing that is made from sheep's wool. So it's not so much that this is a wolf with a sheep costume on, but rather this is false shepherds who are also false prophets. Interesting concept, Mike. Thanks for sharing that with me. Now, in Isaiah chapter number 40, another important connection. Comfort my people, says your Elohim. Speak to the heart of Yisrael and speak to her, or cry out to her, that her heart service is completed, that her crookedness is pardoned. She's received from the hand of Yahweh double for all of her sins. The voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare the way of Yahweh, make straight in the desert a highway for Elohim. It says, let every valley be raised, and every mountain and hill be made low, and the steep ground shall become level, and the rough places smooth. The way is being made to Jerusalem as a place of refuge. Just as Obadiah, and also what we read earlier in Isaiah, or Yeshayahu, has proclaimed. So it says here that those who cry out to Jerusalem, that they are to bring good news and to lift up their voices with strength and not be afraid. That the Ruach is going to move, the grass is going to fade and wither, the flower shall fade when the Spirit of Yahweh is blown upon them. The people is grass. There are those who are going to fail when the Ruach is moving. But there are also those that are going to become profitable. They're going to sense the move of Yah, and they're going to move into a place of refuge. Yah has done an amazing thing. He has created an entire country and given it prominence, prestige, and esteem, and power for many generations. I'm talking about the United States of America. This nation has become a place of refuge for the House of Israel, Ephraim, for many, many generations. But it is by many courses of agendas and actions ceasing to be so. The question in people's minds are, at this time, where can we go? What can we do? Become focused on Yah's true place of refuge. Set your eyes on the hill where there's a city that cannot be hid, and long and yearn and cry out for the return of our King to his eternal city, to Jerusalem. May Yah help us in our focus. Visit with us powerfully on this Shabbat. May you, your family, your congregation, those you gather with, may you find his presence real. Shabbat Shalom. We look forward to seeing you again next week.